Chemistry Room Fragrances is the perfect addition when elevating the vibe of any space. Whether if it's your home, car, or office, and something needs a quick refresh, our room fragrances provide that beautiful burst of fragrance with just one quick mist. Shop now at www.chemistryroomfragrances.com and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Chemistry Room Fragrances. Chemistry Room Fragrances. Smells so good.
What's up? Hey, everybody. What's up? What's going on? Hey, Miss Cheryl.
Hey, girl. How are you?
How are you doing? I try to, switch things up for season 11, put a little zhuzh on it,
That's it. That's it.
Had to give you a little intro to let the people know you were coming through.
I'm here in full effect.
Yes, as they say, period.
That's right. Period.
Yes. So that being said, what's up, everybody? It's Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Welcome to season 11. I can't believe it. We are here. I'm super, super excited to kick off another season of the Speaker Podcast. With that being said, I love introducing people that I know that you probably don't know. So she is a newcomer to the show. This is someone, first of all, must I say, she's probably one of the easiest people I have ever traveled with, ever. First of all, so last summer, I was like, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico just to kind of get away and just go by myself or whatever. And this lady was like, wait a minute. Your little self does not need to be out of the country alone. Little black girl. So literally on the drop of a dime, she was like, no, I'm coming with you. And probably within 2 hours, she had booked all her flight information, everything. Because she was like, no, little black girl, you're not leaving here by yourself.
That's right.
She was in mom mode so fast on me. But we had a great time. And so she joined me in Puerto Rico for, as I celebrated my birthday. Had a great time, had some tears, we laughed. It was just a total, like a mini waiting to exhale moment. It really
was.
We found a night party on the beach.
Yes.
There was so much going on. The food was good. The waters are amazing. And it's definitely a place that we definitely want to go back and travel again. So what was your favorite part of the trip, Ms. Cheryl?
Oh, man, the weather. They had the freshest fruit ever. Like, I have never tasted fruit that was so sweet. And, we kind of had our own chauffeur that showed us around. So we didn't have to spend loads of monies on Ubers and things of that nature. But the whole vibe of Puerto Rico was just absolutely amazing. The people were friendly. And like you said, we had loads of fun. So I'm ready to go back.
It was. So what's up to Dr. Sheldon? That's my new buddy right there. What's up, Whitney? Thank you for tuning in. We are just, doing a little icebreaker before we kick off everything of the Speaker Podcast. So
Mhm.
with that being said, I do want to thank everyone just for joining me right now. Be sure that you share. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I have tons of interviews and conversations there. Heart and Soul 2022 kicks off in August. October. That panelist is going to be absolutely amazing. Oh, you trying to get invited? You got to act right. We got to make sure you're not cray first. Because I love a great vacation buddy. Miss Cheryl was, like I said, easy to get along with. And, with women, I was like, I don't know, because women can be kind of weird traveling. But she was like not fussy, not picky. I was easygoing. She was easy. It was just a great trip. So
It really
I definitely
was.
want to go back. And if I do, she is definitely first on the list. So maybe we'll do a little small friends trip. We never know.
That's right. That's right.
For sure. So with that being said, we're going to do some plugging later on in the show. But Miss Cheryl, please let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Cheryl Gardner, as I already stated, and I am from what we call Small Mini, Georgia. And I am the proud owner of two businesses now. First being Heart to Heart Tax Services, and now recently, as of a couple of weeks ago, Legacy Suites GA. And I am excited about both of those. God is definitely blessing. It is the season, definitely, to put your feet in the water, baby, because He is troubling it. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I absolutely love it. So we're going to just go through this whole conversation of Black Girl Magic, entrepreneurship, faith. We both love the Lord, and we both believe that faith is important when you are a creative. So first of all, who is Miss Cheryl?
Oh, wow. Who is Miss Cheryl? Well, I'm the mother of two. I have two sons, a 26-year-old and a 21-year-old. I have one grandbaby, and I was just made aware probably a month or so ago that my oldest is having twins. So I'll be the grandmother of three now.
Oh, you're a grandmother?
Yes, honey. Okay. At 48, I am a grandmama and loving it. They call me Gigi, baby. But I love, as you stated, absolutely love God. I love music, anything music, if it's dance, if it's praise and worship, singing. I just enjoy being able to express that way. And by all means, I am a businesswoman to the 10th power. Yes, ma'am.
I absolutely love that. So what inspired you to get into entrepreneurship? Like, what was your, because I know we all usually start out as a 9-to-5er. I'm like a hybrid entrepreneur. Like, I still do the 9-to-5 at the law firm, but then I run Chemistry Room Fragrances, Good Black Men, and the Speaker Podcast on the side until I'm believing God that I'm going to walk away from corporate America. That is my prayer. I believe the Lord wholeheartedly. So what was your nudge? Well, let's rewind. You say you're in the tax business. How did you get into that?
Oh, wow. So literally by fluke, not really a fluke, because I believe that God sets up everything, orchestrates everything anyways. Right. But I literally went to my tax office requesting a copy of my tax return. They were having tax school at the time. And my tax preparer said, you know what, you'd be good at this. Why don't you come? Because I was working in banking at the time. And so I attended the school. I started out part-time. I moved from part-time to full-time to management of one store, management of several stores. I was their compliance officer. I taught tax school. I trained their new franchisees. So literally from the ground up, they invested everything that I needed to be able to run a tax business. Little did I know that along the way, God had it set up where the company lost local ownership, right? And so after they lost local ownership, that gave me the opportunity to break contract. Once I broke contract, thus came the opportunity to establish my own business, Heart to Heart Tax Services.
Wow, that is so awesome. So you started Heart to Heart Tax Services. I call this BTS, behind the scenes. What is it that people don't tell you? I know some of these answers, they vary from industry to industry, but this is something entrepreneurs and creators, we talk about this all the time. We get all excited, then it's like, wait a minute, no one told me about this. So what are some things that you experienced that no one told you starting in your lane of creativity as a business owner?
Oh, wow. I would say the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome was the support, because my father is a pastor here in town, and I would say probably one of three, largest ministries here. And my mindset was automatic that because everybody knew my code of ethics, they knew my character, that they would automatically just, show me this overwhelming support. Little, needless to say, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And God had to work on me with that because I was bitter. I was like, oh, so this how
Your
y'all gonna
feelings
do
got
it?
hurt, didn't they?
Yes, because I'm like, y'all know me, come on, it's me.
Yeah.
So I was floored by that. And God sent somebody at the needed time, as he always does, and they ministered to me and just told me that it wasn't supposed to come from that place. And listen, ever since then, I've just been walking in it. I can't even give another entrepreneur the blueprint for how to market or how to do these things, because it was a God move from beginning to end, even till this moment. So that was one of the things that I wish, somebody would have better prepped me for, to say, hey, don't expect for, the friends or the relatives or the church members or what have you to just instantly jump in. So you're talking about maybe a congregation of 1,000 plus. And literally, I think my first year in business, I only did maybe 5 of them. So yeah, I was heartbroken.
That little ego was like, oh.
Yeah.
I know, and that's something, you and I met you in the Mark Coley Business Academy a couple years ago.
Yes.
What's up, Mark? And it was just like, that was something even when I started with him through Power 5 many moons ago, he told us from the beginning, like, don't expect your friends and your family to support you. If anything, they'll be the last to follow with you. And the people that won't support you until it's popular to do so. And that your greatest supporters will be total strangers. And I've found that to be true, that most of the people that have really ridden the waves with me have been people that I don't know that well, or just total strangers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So with that being said, where was your faith at that point? Because you mentioned you were being bitter, and that's something that as a creative, it can actually lock up your creativity, because if you're working out of frustration or bitterness or anger, you can't flow in your gift, because your energy, your mental energy is not being placed in the proper space. So how did you shift out of that space of being frustrated and upset, and as I say, hit the clear, to where you were able to flow and operate as a creative?
Well, one thing that I believe that God does, and that is confirms what's already on the inside of you. So one thing I knew for certain is the type of entrepreneur that, I am. And so there was no second guessing, my ability to do my job. It was more so, again, like I said, the support. And so once he sent that person to me who I knew to be of God, first thing, and then they spoke that word into me about how God was going to move throughout the business, it was like it settled and it resonated in my heart. So once it did that, I did what I'm good at doing, and that is continuing to grind. So at that point, I kind of put the blinders on, knowing that, okay, it's not coming from here. So let me concentrate on developing the business and the brand until he sends those people to come in and be supportive.
That's so good. I think one of the things that I've learned and that I continue to learn is finding your voice and remaining authentic to who you are. Because as we see, there's so many people out here in the world of social media. They're doing a lot to emotionally trigger their audience, or to create clickbait, or presenting another persona that's not even themselves, that takes away from the core of who they are and their messaging. So how have you found yourself being able to maintain true to yourself and saying, hey, I'm not going to take this type of photo, I'm not going to post this type of reel, I'm going to stay true to my core and who I feel as Cheryl, to gain my audience my way and God's way, versus, as I say, the cheat code? Because there's so many cheat codes out here. I've even had people, particularly guys, tell me, where if you post or dress this way or do this, then maybe you can gain more followers faster. And that's just not the message that I choose to put out, because I've said before, that's not what is for sale.
That's right. So for me, you kind of asked a lot of questions in there at once. But when I started at the Mark Coley Business Academy, that was my business was still a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we talked about is no matter what industry that you're in, there's always other people doing the same exact thing that you do. So what you've got to do is find a way to be an individual in your industry. And so I had to tap into what made me different. And what made me different is the fact that, I'm in an industry when it comes down to taxes where everybody cheats, everybody wants the bang for the buck, but they don't want to do, the right thing in order to get it. And so for one, I took to comedy because I love to laugh. I think I have a pretty good sense of humor. And so I took a lot of serious concepts when it came down to taxes and kind of made them funny. And it drew the attention of people, so much so to people that, I've never done their taxes before, were speaking words of encouragement. And it was like, yes, baby, put that in the atmosphere. I had somebody to tell me, I see you in a couple of years in a Forbes magazine, or I see you owning, multiple offices, because I didn't choose the pathway that is so easy to go, because in the tax industry, it's so easy to make a lot of money really fast.
Yeah,
but I wanted
scared
to do
of God and the IRS.
Yes, so. I was going to say, I have to be able to sleep at night, baby. Yes. And orange does not look good, or whatever color they're wearing in prison now, it don't look good on me. Not in there anyways.
Period.
Right.
No, I love that. So here you are, you're finding your voice, you're staying true to yourself. Now, you've opened a new business, Legacy Suite. So first of all, kudos. I saw the photos. I was like, oh my God, yes. So walk us through exactly how that came about. From I know you and I talked offline about it, but for those that are not aware of your journey and your story, what is the story behind Legacy Suite?
So literally, one of the ladies from the city of Albany came into what was my former office. I was renting a space. And she was like, how much are you paying rent here? We calculated it was more than $20,000. I've been there 3 years. And she reminded me, or called my attention to the fact that you will never own this. This will never be yours. And so she invited me to apply for this grant that the city had, in which they gave me like a list of information that they required. It was like a mile long. And like the next day, I turned everything in. And once they did that, listen, because I'm trying to tell you, don't get me started about entrepreneurs, because that's how it should be technically with all of us, that our things are in, such order to where someone could come along and ask, particularly when we were going through like the PPP and the SBA things they were giving out. A lot of people missed out because they didn't have their stuff in order. That's what I do. But anyway, so the initial idea was to just move heart-to-heart tax services into a building that would be mine. And so in the midst of looking for buildings, I started coming across these buildings that had, multiple office spaces on the inside. And I thought, wait a minute. Here's an opportunity to do something else, because one of my goals is to always to give back and to continue to grow my business. And so God blessed where we found a building, and it had like eight office spaces on the inside of it. And that's where God began to allow the wheels to start turning. And it was like, now I can offer other entrepreneurs office spaces, because I know how difficult it was for me. I don't have to charge them an arm and a leg. And because it was in a different NACE's code than heart-to-heart tax services, this was now doing with, commercial renting, spaces. So I said, there's always a strategy. God gives a strategy. And the strategy was, if something ever comes along to where they're offering grant monies and things of that sort, if you have 2 EINs, 2 businesses, 2 different NACE's code, then that's 2 different awards that you'll receive. So it came into play with me being able to offer a different service to go to another level. But then at the same time, it was a business strategy as well.
Wow, I absolutely love that. So when did you officially open Legacy Suites?
Officially, it was not this past Friday, but the Friday before. What is this month? This is July 29th. July
Okay.
29th on that Friday was when we had our grand opening. We had so much fun that I had to do the official benediction and tell everybody, listen, you got to go because we've been dancing and line dancing long enough. It's time to go home.
I love that. So when you were going through that process, where was your faith at that time? Because that can be very scary. Like, oh my gosh, I know this is what I want, but then you kind of get the butterflies.
Yep.
So what was
It
that
was
like?
the transition for Legacy Suites was even scarier than the transition to Heart to Heart, from the 9 to 5 to Heart to Heart tax
How,
services.
so talk about that part.
Yeah, so the 9 to 5, I let me say this, that I never thought that Heart to Heart tax services would be my everything. For me, it was always going to be my side hustle. It was the extra money during, in addition to my 9 to 5. But what God did for me was He allowed the business to grow and grow and grow with Heart to Heart tax services so much that I literally felt guilty working my 9 to 5, because so many people from the tax perspective were calling me saying, hey, we got questions, and I couldn't do my 9 to 5 job because of, doing this. And so I'm the type of person, God just can't tell me something and I just do it. Nope, I got to be difficult. And I'm like, God, is this you? Like, can you wet the fleece and then dry it and then re-wet it so I can know that it's you?
Like we, as we said, we fleece God. Lord, is this you? Let it rain 3 days in a row, like whatever. But sometimes He doesn't do that. He just opens the door.
That's
And
it.
it's up to you to walk through the door.
That's it. And it was a jump, but how I knew that it was a God move, because everything that I asked for, I was like, okay, if this is you, I can afford this much rent, to get into a building. And, He gave me that. The furniture that I got to furnish the building initially, I found every place, or He led me to every place that was going out of business, and stuff that I should have been paying like thousands of dollars for. I was getting it for a couple of $100s. So in my mind, I was cool, because I knew this was a God move. He sent me the people, and no sooner than I could pray a prayer and say, okay, God, this is too much for me now. I need help, and I need to be able to pay the help. People would come along and say, hey, did you know about this program where we'll put somebody in here to work with you and we'll pay you 75% of their salary? I'm telling you, it just came together that way. But at that time, it was still in my budget. It was still within my means, kind of thing. So to transition now to having this full-blown mortgage and have to pay property taxes, and going from $495 rent for a building to almost $900 for a mortgage on a place was definitely a big move. And it was like, okay, God, now I'm trembling, and the focus is definitely to where I want Him to provide and lead me in all things. But at the end of the day, I have to say, the old cliche is true. If He did it before, He'll do it again.
Come on,
And
Tasha.
yes, if He took care of me there in this place, then
Yes.
surely He'll take care of me in the next place, because it's all, I said it Sunday, there are levels to this thing. God doesn't just elevate you to a place and just leave you at that place, because as soon as you get comfortable, then He moves you to another place, and then He moves you to another place. And so I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the ride.
I love it. What's that saying? If it's God, it's bigger than your budget.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but if it's not, then because real faith is going to require something bigger than you. He
That's
gives you
right.
the idea, even though He knows that you don't have the resource. But that's where the faith comes in. And then, like you said, He brought people, He brought resources.
Yes, He did.
And just to hear you say that, and just saying levels, and being complacent and comfort, because sometimes we can miss our window in life because we're comfortable, or we're complacent, or even fearful, because we're not trusting God. What's it saying? You have to trust Him when you can't trace Him. And sometimes you don't see Him in that situation. You have to believe and know that if He, like you said, if He brought you through X, Y, and Z, He can take you to the next level. So I absolutely love that. And I totally agree. And I have been there, going through that now. Some things, ventures, not doors I'm knocking on, and it's definitely requiring some faith. But then you have to remember, like, He's like, hey, lo, I'll be with you always. I got you.
Even,
you have to remember those things.
Yeah.
For sure. So going through this process, now you're a steward of not only a building, but people. And there's a difference between being an employer and being a leader. So can you kind of touch on the difference and the importance of being a goodly, but also a godly leader, particularly in the realm of entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of emotional abuses and things that people, what I call being power hungry, abusing their authority. So can you touch on a bit the importance of being a goodly, godly entrepreneur and employer?
Yeah. So they're definitely two separate things. And I say that because not everybody who will come to my office to rent a space is a Christian. And so I still have to practice good work ethics, leadership skills. I have to be mindful of how I talk to people, how I treat people, because we all know it only takes that one incident for that person to take something so simple and to, blow it out of proportion, even if it's their fault. And so one of the reasons why I personally believe that God continues to elevate me is because I never close my eyes to a moment of ministry. Every single person that has come to rent an office space shouts out to God, because I've only been officially open for 2 weeks and 3 out of the 5 rooms have already been rented. So I only have 2 left. It matters. I've had the opportunity to pray with them. I've had the opportunity to speak life into them, and not just from a Christianity perspective, but also from what I love to do, which is run businesses. So they get the best of both worlds because they're right there in my space. So if there's anything that I need to, I'm not there to micromanage them, but I'm not going to let them be doing something that I know that I can help them and not pour into them that way. So it's vitally important. I've seen people who are ethically good people, but their leadership style sucks, to say the least. I mean, they don't know how to talk to people. They micromanage. They treat people like they're beneath them. And so every day that I wake up, I'm asking God to keep me in purpose. I'm asking him to show me who it is you want me to talk to, what it is you want me to say or not say. So definitely just being cognizant of those roles, what he wants me to do.
Absolutely love it. And the fact that you're opening a business during a time where so many companies have closed their doors, but yet you've been one to open doors. So that's amazing within itself.
Yeah, I saw that like a couple of days after I opened the business, literally. And I was driving down one of our main streets, and all I saw was going out of business, close, close, close. It was like going through a ghost town. And all I could say was, okay, God, what did I just do? Like, I literally just opened this business, a new business, when so many others were closing, and I literally just got scared. And as soon as I thought about it, God reminded me of that walk on the water moment. And it's like, listen, I just need you here. He's shown me through dreams. He's shown me through people coming to speak words. But he was like, I just need you to keep your focus on me, because it's when you take your eyes off me that you start to get fearful, that you start to, but we have to, there's a scripture that says, write the vision and make it plain. We have to write down and give account of the things that God has done for us, because in those moments that you get fearful or you get scared, you need something to go back to. And I'm guilty of not writing those things down. So I literally have to take a moment and be like, God, remind me of when you did this, or and then once they coming back to you, you're like, okay.
You got to get the receipts on your life.
That's it. Yes, ma'am.
Get the receipts on your life. And I say that all the time. I write down things that I've prayed for, asked God for, and then I'll go back and I've even written down what year certain things happen. Because sometimes, we all get discouraged, whether it's we're podcasting or doing chemistry or opening a new business. You have those moments and you have to go back and really get the resume of God and say, God did this for me. He did that. He helped me through this situation. And the more you start reading those things or writing it down, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And sometimes it's more than what you realize.
Yeah.
And it's not even just things all the time. It's just even protection, like keeping you from an accident or whatever. So, I mean, it's so important to have that prayer journal and write those things down and remind yourself on, the important things,
Right. And I just want to say this, Camille, before we get, too far gone. But if there's some woman that may be watching this right now or watching this even after the fact, and not just a woman, but it would apply to men too. But God allowed me to walk into heart-to-heart tax services coming out of a 20-year marriage. Like when I tell you I was at the lowest of my low, you're talking about a 45-year-old woman who had to go back home to live with mom and dad, or who had a teenager at the time who didn't have enough resources to walk into her own. So it was a very humbling time for me. I walked into my apartment with bare minimum, a washing machine and a dryer and my son's bedroom furniture. I had to replace everything. And I remember my dad telling me, let him have it, let him go. And I was like, oh, let him have it. I paid for that. I did, and Holy Spirit convicted me. And so it was hard to do, but I looked back on it a year later when I walked into my business and the tears I still have the live from when I went live in my car, because it was like in 12 months, God completely changed my situation. And I walked into my home and it was like, where did I get all this stuff? Like, where did it come from? So he literally set me up for my next business move during the time when I was at my lowest. And I really believe that he did that so that I could understand that this is all about me. Has nothing to do with you, baby, because you're not in a position to even love on yourself. So he did it at a time where I knew that it had to be all God.
You were talking and, I got watered. My eyes got watery. Two things. One, sometimes people, no matter how long they were in our life, can actually be blocking you from your next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say before, sometimes God will break your heart to save your life.
Yeah.
And so he allowed that to happen and move that person out of the way so the next blessing could come. And then two, God is the God of the restart.
That's
like
right.
When you look at the Bible, how many times God has hit the reset button, whether it was through Genesis or just through other avenues in the lives of people. He told Abraham in Genesis 12, chapter 12, 1-3, leave everything. I'm going to take you to a whole another place. You're not going to know anybody. And look what happened.
That's right.
So I just hearing you talk about that, even when I, hear you talk, I'm thinking about my own life at a time where God told me to leave the Navy. People like, God told you to? I'm like, God told me to leave the Navy, not knowing what was coming after that. But it was a window that he was like, I need you to move now. And doing that, it's been nothing but blessing. So the fact that you brought that up, I think that is so good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Got to tell it. Shout it from the mountaintop, because you just never know who is listening that may be going through that very same thing. And I need them to know that there is somebody tangible that is making it day by day. I'm making it so they can do it too.
Absolutely. So I'm going to have just a quick little icebreaker here. And as a brand creative entrepreneur, I have what I call my Mount Rushmore creators that I love. So who are your top 5? If you had to name your top 5 creators or entrepreneurs, who would they be?
Oh my gosh. So I have a confession to make on that.
Okay.
And they don't have to be women, right?
No, it can be anybody.
Okay. Because I'm so out of touch, like, with the world around me. I was sheltered. I was a PK kid, still am.
Me too.
So the people that I know are my normal, everyday, doing the doggone thing. And of course, I have to give shots out to Mark Coley, of course, because he is just taking it. He's another person that's just taking it, from level to level to level. And I'm watching who God is turning him into be. But in all honesty, the creatives that I've seen and that I admire most are ones that are tangible to me, which would be you guys. Like, you mentioned 3 different businesses that you're doing on the side of working at a law firm. It's like, how many sides do you have? So I'm just saying, we are actually shedding the blood, sweat, and tears. We are making it happen. I come from a lineage of entrepreneurs, but it's just amazing to watch people like roll, or to see the transformations that like Wit has. Lisa is doing the doggone thing. We are next level. We are the ones that's making it happen. So it's not like I look to the industry of the big wigs or the movie stars or the people I'm looking at us, because we're the next it. We're the next it factor.
I look up to you guys because I feel like, man, I'm not doing enough. And I think something as creatives, it's so important to have people around you that hold you accountable and push you, because we do have those highs and lows and you feel like, oh, man, what am I doing today? Or, what's going on? Sales may go up, they go down. You may not have any. Then the next day you have a big. It is definitely a roller coaster ride. You have to know and remember your purpose. You have to remember who you are, because it will have you questioning, like, look, I am one more cell away from going down to the Chickaloosa or Uncle Clifford. I'm tired. It is.
Yes. Shut it all down.
Yes, like it gets frustrating, and you have to continue to persevere and remember your why and to trust God. Because there's been times I felt like I'm just gonna delete all my social medias and just be a regular person and be here. But then the other part of me is just like, no, what did God say? What did He show you? And that's the thing that pushes you every day. So when you have people like yourself or Lisa or Whitney, Reese, around you, pushing you, talking to you, it's important that you have to do a squad check. Every now and then you have to check your squad.
That's right.
You have to go around and remember like who's around you, who's motivating you, because you don't know who's watching you. You might have, for example, 500 followers on Instagram, but there might be 5,000 more that never follow you. They're just checking on your page all the time.
That's right. And that's one of the things that we really learned in Mark Coley Business Academy. It's not the people who are hitting that like button or hitting that heart button, but it's the ones that are not responding, that see you on every day.
Yeah. We call ghost followers. And then it's like they're watching, they want to support, but they're like, well, let me see if she's for real, because we have what we call a lot of fly-by-night brand creators that they'll do something for 30 days, 60, 90 days, and then all of a sudden the website is down.
Exactly.
Anymore, so you just really have to make sure that this is what you want to do, because it's not just time that you're putting out, you're also putting out money,
Right.
And once the money is out there, it's out there. And like over the last, I guess 3 or 4 days, I took a social media break, because as a creative, you put out so much all the time. It can drain you, and you do have to learn how to take time for yourself and to step back and to kind of, it's like a cell phone. You have to plug back in and recharge, you know. And my way of doing that is through prayer, devotion, the word, worship, because, I know a lot of people are doing a lot of things to open up their creativity, but God is my source. And so when I'm feeling those things, and I'm like, I need to unplug from this, because if you're looking at social media every day, you'll start to compare yourself and go, well, they're doing this and they're getting all this focus, but I'm not doing that. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to kind of compromise yourself. And before you know it, you're like, how you started is not even where you are right now. And you're like, oh God, how did I get here? And so important. Go ahead, Ms. Cheryl.
No, I'm sorry. One of the biggest things that I had to learn, and still learning to step away from, is that if God gives me something to put, out on social media, to put it out there and not go back and check it. Because it's like, I put it out there, and every 30 minutes, I'm opening Facebook or I'm opening TikTok and saying, okay, did somebody like it? Did they respond? What do they think about it? And it's like, literally me and God have the best conversations, and they're just so plain. And He'll say to me, so you just couldn't trust, what I told you to do, and just put it out there and just walk away from it. It doesn't really matter, what they think. So I'm retraining myself that if He says, do this, put it out there and just leave it in His hands.
So true. That is so true. In the space that I am right now, and maybe you can touch on, I'm personally going through a transition. So now that transition of finding and showing up in my branding. So how do you navigate those spaces of transition as a creative, as maybe what Heart to Heart was in the beginning to where it is now to Legacy Sweets?
You said, how do I
navigate the transition?
Oh, wow. The easiest thing for me to say would be, to, of course, let God do it, those transitions, because everything that I've done, I have my ideas. And I'll give you for example with Legacy Suites, because they're office spaces. I have a master's in cosmetology. So
Okay.
my first thought was it's easy to just rent these spaces out to people who do lashes, makeup, hair, braid, whatever the case may be. It's easy money, yada, yada, yada. But that's not the people who showed up. The people who showed up were the counselors. It was the people that needed professional spaces. They were doing contract jobs. Home health care agencies. So those were the people that started to reach out. And God says no, because I need to protect the brand that you have. Because even though there's Legacy Suite, Heart to Heart Tax Services is embedded within, and we have to be mindful of the type of environments that we create, because we want our clients to be comfortable. We want them to feel like they're not in the midst of chaos type deal. So I allow God to say, okay, I see what you're doing. It might have been my idea to, have makeup people in here, but that's not what wanted for me. And I'll tell you this quick little story, because during my time of transition, my symbol was a butterfly. I had butterflies everywhere. They're all in my house, at the office, everywhere, because my life was going through transition. Well, my mom helped me decorate. And every time we went somewhere to find decorations for Legacy Suites, we kept coming across peacocks. And it was like, okay, God, what is this thing with these peacocks you kept showing? So one day I stopped and actually took a moment to look up the spiritual significance of peacocks. And girl, when I saw it, it was like, okay, I got you, God, because the peacock talked about walking in that spirit of self-confidence, sexuality, beauty, leadership. No, and I heard God just as clear, and he said, your season of transition is over. You're not transitioning anymore, baby. You stepped into who it is that you are and who I've called you to be. And that thing made my heart. So if you ever walk into my office, there are peacocks on my desk, they're on shelves, they're on the pictures, they're everywhere, because God speaks to us in so many different ways. But embracing, don't fight the transition, embrace it.
I love it. And another thing, particularly us within the community, we go through this space of what I call survival mode. But then when you get to a space of thriving, you're still operating like you're still trying to survive. And like, no, you don't have to be on the offense or defense anymore. That season of getting by is over. You're in a space where now you're thriving. And that takes a mind shift. And it takes some time for your mind to catch up where you are spiritually, even physically. So can you touch on that just a little bit?
Well, again, the only thing that I can say is to embrace that moment, because spiritually you have to always be ready to pivot. You've got to be looking for God to come at whatever angle, because I'm one of those people that I want to know how it's gonna work. I want to know where it's gonna come from. I need a plan. Tell me the game plan for the next day, Lord. That's me. And it's like, there are times when he will, but then there are times when he's silent, and his expectation is just trust me, just flow. Miss Hetty says it all the time. Just flow. Just flow with it. Yes. And so it's just about embracing that time span, because again, with Legacy Suites now, that urge is there to, okay, what do I need to do? Because now my mortgage is double, what it used to be. The light bill is more than what it used to be. Do I need to go and create this product over here? Do I need to go and run this special over here? And it's like, girl, chill out. I got you. If I brought you to this, I'm going to bring you through it.
I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely love it. So that being said, before we wrap up, what is maybe 3 little gems or takeaways you would like to give the listeners or viewers?
Oh, I'm going to always tell everybody to keep God first. That's all I know. Have I walked it perfectly in all my days? Absolutely not. But I always make my way back to him, no matter which way I stray. So definitely keep God first. Second thing I would always tell them is to have a plan. Don't depend on the people around you to help you bring it to the table. You need to be getting with someone. One of the greatest takeaways that I have from the Mark Coley Business Academy is the fact of community. We need each other. And I don't care if that's in the entrepreneur community, I don't care if it's from a spiritual side. We need somebody to cry on, to say, you know what, Camille, I don't really think you should do that. We need that. And then my last thing, what would I say? Do it. Whatever God shows you, step out on it. And I heard somebody tell me, even if you have to do it scared, still do it. Because he
Do it
didn't
ugly.
give it to you. Yeah, he didn't give it to you for you to just lay it, by the wayside. Because the truth of the matter is, for us being unappreciative or ungrateful, he could actually take that blessing and say, oh, so you're not going to do anything with it? Let me give it to her because she'll work it. So whatever he shows you, whatever he blesses you with, work it.
Do it scared, do it ugly.
That's
and,
it.
and you touched on one thing I want to circle back before we close out. Accountability, because you want, the scripture says iron sharpens iron, and you don't want to be around people, a bunch of yes men. We see this in the world of social media and celebrity, where people are doing just the most asinine things, and it's because no one pulls that person's coattail and pulls them to the side and say, hey dude, you're messing up bad.
Right.
Like, you're actually feeding or enabling that bad behavior,
right.
Because of maybe that person's paying them and they don't want to mess up their situation, so they're letting it slide. But when you're really in a space where you're really wanting to grow, you have to have people to say, hey, that post, what's going on? Is that really your messaging? What's that about? Were you doing that because were you venting? Like, where did that come from? So you have to have those people around you just to push you and say, hey, you know what? That's great, but I know you can be better.
That's right. You do. We need it. We all need it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So what is next on the horizon for you?
Oh gosh, what is next on the horizon? I would say looking into all of the opportunities with the space that I have to maximize the moment, because not just about, the office space. I've heard about virtual mailboxes. There are people who work from home who simply, need storage spaces to keep client records. Whatever that next thing is, maybe he'll send my Boaz soon. But if not, we're going to keep grinding. We're going to keep working.
I believe that for you wholeheartedly.
Yes, ma'am.
And where can people contact you on social media? We are on the cusp of Q3 and Q4. Just they're meeting more and more every day. They're getting closer and closer. So where can people find you on social media if they're looking to connect with you for their business taxes or personal taxes and deadlines they should think about as we roll into Q4?
Okay, so the website is h2htaxservices.com, and that's the number 2. So it's htaxservices.com. They can actually schedule appointments there. We do things virtual. We don't just service the state of Georgia. Love that fact. I branded my own software last year. Okay. So we had tax preparers who were operating up under my business in about 5 to 6 different states last year. And so we're looking.
North Carolina?
Say again.
Are you in North Carolina?
Yes. Oh yeah. We actually had a preparer who worked under my license who was in North Carolina.
Okay, I might be calling you.
Yes, ma'am. So we can help you no matter. If you can get to a computer, we can help you. Okay. And then on Facebook, it's Heart to Heart Tax Services, just up under the business name, and then Legacy Suites is there as well. Somebody may, be interested in how we came about doing it or what they can do to do the same. I'm not one of those people that doesn't want to share, how things are set about. You don't have to reinvent the wheel with me. I'll share whatever I have gladly.
I absolutely love it. Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit with me. We had some family in tonight from the Mark Coley Business Academy that creeped in. Shay was here. Whitney popped in. Aggie popped in. I had a couple of friends from college. Carlos Hale, he's a radio personality there in Nashville. I've known him since like 9th grade, like forever. Reese here, she is a friend and family of the show as well. We had Dr. McAfee, he was in. Dr. Sheldon, really good guy as well. So thank you all for tuning in. And if I missed someone, my cousin Candy, she's here as well. We love you too, Whit. Thanks for the support. And to everyone that's been rocking with me.
Family forever.
Forever. And I'm super excited as I kick off season 11 of the Speaker Podcast, and for you joining me for episode 1 of season 11. It means so much. Yes, that's really great. For everyone that you haven't heard or didn't know, I now have my YouTube channel, which I'm working to build. So please go right now to YouTube and subscribe. I'm working to build that up. In addition to my streaming services, I've been picked up by AfriPods. So now I'm streaming in continental Africa. I'm super excited about that. And Pandora, in addition to iHeartRadio and other streaming services. And as you know, Good Black Men Still Exist. That is out there right now. Go get that merchandise and shop with me on my website at chemistryroomfragrances.com. All first-time subscribers, you'll save 15% at the checkout when you use the coupon code GBM15.
I'm not a first-time subscriber. Darn.
But you know, when you shop, you get points. There is a reward program out there as well. So, and then if you didn't know, I want to say spring, it was around Father's Day, I randomly selected some of my what I call frequent shoppers, and they were gifted with $20 to $25 coupons. I have digital gift cards. And so you never know, even if you don't have the coupon code, you may be the recipient of a gift card. I do pass those out periodically from time to time. And then,
girl, you know, birthdays, where do you find the time?
It pays to subscribe. It pays to subscribe. So I'll say that.
That's right. Where do you find the time?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful. And I'm, like I said, I'm believing God for some other things and for this thing to really take off. And the thing that he keeps just saying is be consistent. Even when you feel like, man, you didn't get so many viewers this episode or whatever. We just hit 7,000 downloads the other day. I was super excited about that. Thank you. I'm on the road to 10K. But the thing is, when you're branding, is to be consistent. And that's something you can attest to. Consistency pays off. So to anyone listening or watching, you're going to have good days. You're going to have things go up and down, but the key is to be consistent. It's not for the people, it's for God, because if he sees that you can be consistent with this, too much is given, much is required, but he has to see that he can trust you with this first before he gives you that platform. So you can't mistreat or abuse or be a poor steward over your space and your platform. How can you handle 1 million, but you're not faithful to the 100?
That's right. That's right. And that's where a lot of us miss the mark, because when we blow up, we forget about the people, the smaller jobs or the smaller people, as we would say, that helped guide us there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe in small people. I just believe in small gratitude. And I'm thankful for everything.
That's
everything.
Right.
Thankful. Yes, so we're gonna stop because we'll go into a whole nother space. So you got PKs, we get together, get started into something altogether different. So with that being said, everybody, this is your friend, your girl, your sister. This is Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast when innovators and creators connect. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have another newcomer to the show. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. If you want to know who, you got to follow me on social media. Have a great night. Peace.
Take care.